Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning into this video from the Warrior Sword. Um, we are going to honor today as we release this. It will be released a little bit early from the honoring of that nationally, but we're going to honor today the sanctity of life. And the title that I gave this message is Sanctity of Life, a Personal Approach. And for many years, I have been very rabidly pro-life. And those of you that know me know that. I served as county president for the Right to Life organization in Ohio. And so it has been something that I have been very involved in. It saddens me. And of course, we are recording this early, and I don't know what the end result is going to be of all of these legal situations and everything. But at least at the time we're recording this, it appears that we have elected maybe the most pro-murder president and vice president in history. And it's a very sad thing to me that is the case. Certainly, the Speaker of the House is very pro-murder, and it just saddens me. But you know what really saddens me more is the church's attitude many times. Back in January 22nd of 2015, and that is the celebration, the anniversary of Roe versus Wade, St. James Episcopal Church in Wichita, Kansas, held a chili supper as a fundraiser, and they used that fundraiser to raise funds for Planned Parenthood, who openly professes to have slaughtered millions and millions of babies. And that is the attitude that has gone on. In recent days, we have seen so-called pastors standing out in front of abortion clinics and praying blessings upon those abortion clinics. And let me tell you something, United States of America. That's why we are facing judgment. That's why we are facing judgment like maybe we've never seen before. And we're seeing the preparation of the destruction of Christianity in America as we have known it. Because we have accepted these types of things. Ezekiel chapter 22, verses 12 to 14. In thee have they taken gifts to shed blood. Thou hast taken usury and increase, and thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion, and hast forgotten me, saith the Lord God. Behold, therefore, I have smitten mine hand at thy dishonest gain, which thou hast made at thy blood, which hath been in the midst of thee. Can thine heart endure? Or can thine hand be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, the Lord, have spoken and will do it. And all of the people that are sitting back and saying, oh, this is going to all be okay. It's going to be all okay. We don't want to hear the words of the prophets any more than they did in those days when Ezekiel spoke this and wrote this out of the mouth of the Lord himself. For you see, it is important, and in Galatians 1:15, the Apostle Paul says, but when it pleased God who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by his grace. Isaiah 49, verse 1, Isaiah says, listen, O isles, unto me. Hearken, ye people from far. The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. While Isaiah was still in his mother's womb, God was speaking out his name. In Luke chapter 1, verses 39 to 47, unborn John the Baptist leaped in the womb of his mother Elizabeth when the voice of Mary was heard, the mother of Jesus. The baby heard that voice and leapt even before he was born and still in his mother's womb. The Bible is absolutely clear that humans are important from conception to death, and even before conception. They are not parasites. They are children, everyone. Now I want to encourage you of something, and I've got quite a lot here, and so I'm trying to hustle and get into the message, and I'm not doing very good. But one thing that I really want to encourage you is in something in your walk with Christ. Get passionate about something. Be passionate about something. You don't have to be passionate about the same things that I am, but be passionate about something. Don't just sit on the fence and act like that nothing matters and that you just roll through life, but be passionate about something in your spiritual walk. So many things when I was younger were just rated passing issues. I remember when we studied the book Inherit the Wind in my high school English class. And Inherit the Wind was a promotion, a propaganda for evolution. And we had to read through this book. And I remember coming home to my mom and saying to her, well, both Darwin and the Bible are good, because I didn't understand. Now I am a rabid creationist, and I have argued that point, especially with lots of young people through the years. So we learn and we become passionate about things. Later on in that same English class, we had to write a term paper on abortion. And honestly, I didn't even really know what abortion was at that time. Here I was, a junior in high school, and did not even know one of the most horrible culture scars that was out there. Over the last few years of ministry, in fact 40 years of ministry, I have become a rabid pro-lifer. Why did my attitudes change? Why did I get so angry and trying to push and teach these issues? The fact is that like most youths, I was never taught. We Christians so often leave it up to the world to teach our children about sex and about intimacy and all the things that come from that. And then we wonder why our children act like the world. Because we've allowed the world to be the teachers, because we're embarrassed to deal with these issues. We are teaching them that Christianity has nothing to do with the issues of abortion and evolution and physical intimacy. These things should be left to science and English teachers, and then we wonder why we reap what we sow, because our children don't know. The other side is very passionate and very openly passionate. When Judge Samuel Alito was nominated for the Supreme Court, the ACLU was given $30 million from the other side to fight his confirmation, because Samuel Alito is very, very pro-life. We spend most of our money sending it to TV preachers who tell us that we'll get goodies that we want if we keep sending money to them. That's the difference. That's why we are where we are. In the world, there is 42 million abortions a year, 15,000 abortions every day in the world right now. Since January 22nd of 1973, when Roe versus Wade passed, there have been well over 60 million babies that have been slaughtered on the altar of convenience. That is 3,500 per day, 146 per hour, one every 25 seconds. We've been on here now about 10 minutes. for this video. Every 25 seconds, a baby has been slaughtered. For every 1,000 live births, there are 306 babies murdered. That amounts to about 20 states' population that have been slaughtered. This is over 60 million children's parents who are not shopping for bottles and diapers and toys and booties and school books. This is 60 million plus less people in this workforce building, teaching, and healing. 60 million plus less people paying taxes and Social Security to take care of the current elderly. Over 60 million fewer people making the market larger and more efficient and investing in innovation. You see, it's not just an argument about babies dying. It has destroyed the economy of this nation because of the decisions that we have made. And isn't it amazing? The same ones that will stand up and say it is inhumane to execute a man that rapes and kills 2 little girls, and then will turn around and say it is our right to kill our unborn babies and useless old people. That is the human thing to do. The humane thing to do is to slaughter babies. But people that would do such evil things are okay. Every year for a number of years I've done research, hoping that I could shock people enough to get them to care. But it really has not worked. Does it matter that doctors inject saline into the womb of the mother and literally fry the baby until the baby is born black? Does it matter that sometimes the baby is still born alive, so they simply cut it into pieces and throw it in the garbage? Does it matter that parts of these little ones are kept in jars as keepsakes by so-called doctors? Does it matter that all of this stuff is happening, that babies are thrown into dumpsters behind the abortuaries? Does it matter? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. We go on about our daily lives, and the average Christian continues to sleep. I was never taught any of these things when I was young. Was it because I had bad parents? No, I had awesome parents. I had awesome parents. But they didn't know how to explain this stuff. No one had ever told them how to explain this stuff either. And it is for certain that the church as a whole is not teaching our young people these things to understand them. Many churches pass meaningless resolutions to declare themselves pro-life, but very little is ever said about the issue of abortion because they're afraid to offend someone, to offend the world. Carl Kirby from Answers in Genesis Ministry informs us that we have approximately 400,000 churches in America and 6,000 first-run movie theaters. Which do you think affects the culture more? The 400,000 churches or the 6,000 movie theaters? It's not even a competition. It's not even close. The Hollywood writers and producers have much, much more influence on the youth today than the numerous churches across the country and the pastors and the Sunday school teachers, because most pastors and some Sunday school teachers have become so politically correct that teaching their children that God called us before we were even in the womb of our parents is truth. So we're politically correct and only interested in maintaining our positions. And there's not even a concern whether people are listening and knowing the truth anymore. Let's add the problem of us parents. Why? Most parents don't care. Okay, now everybody can write to me and tell me how bad and unfair I am. Statistically, the average dad spends only a very few minutes a day communicating to his children at all. God help us. Let alone trying to teach them anything biblical. As long as they get good grades in the schools that are teaching them that they evolved from monkeys, and they can hit the basket or score the touchdown or bring down the 10-point buck, we don't care whether our children know the facts. We just want to turn on the football game and be left alone. So go off and play your video games and play on your computers and don't bother us. The truth is, there was a 1 in 200 million chance that you would be born. All the events that had to work together to actually allow you to be conceived is a phenomenal series of events. It is absolutely an amazing fact that God chose you to be born. It's not by any means mere chance. It is mind-boggling events coming together to create you. That's how important you are. In 4 weeks after your conception, your heart began to beat. In 8 weeks, you were beginning to move. You can't be felt until about the 4th month, but the movement clearly happened. Abortion is the #1 surgical procedure in the United States of America, and it is the only one that doctors do not have to inform the patient of what is really happening. They just tell you it's a blob of flesh or a parasite. They don't tell you what they're really doing. And it's the #1 surgical procedure in the United States of America. When the doctors use a vacuum to suck the baby apart or do a C-section on the baby and then throw the baby into the garbage to die, the patient doesn't have to be told what is actually being done. A few years ago, when the Freedom of Choice Act hearings were taking place, one doctor declared the unborn baby was nothing more than a parasite. I wanted to scream at the television and say, "No, doctor, you are the parasite. You are the parasite. And God will judge you prophetically. God will judge you. God will judge you, United States of America, for what you are sanctioning to happen." In 2006, I lived in Indiana, and the head of Planned Parenthood in Indiana wrote a letter to the editor that appeared in the Indianapolis Star. In that letter, he said, "It is all of us' goal to make abortion a low occurrence, but it's the Christian pro-lifers that is causing it to occur so much." Because he said that we wouldn't support their programs and therefore abortion was having to happen. Mr. Head of the Indiana Planned Parenthood, you are a liar. If abortion stopped, Planned Parenthood would go bankrupt tomorrow. Follow the money, baby. Planned Parenthood doesn't want abortion to stop. Planned Parenthood wants as many abortions as they can possibly get. And now many Girl Scout councils are joining with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood historically attempts to reach children at a very early age with their sex without consequences propaganda, getting children involved in sex and then selling them contraceptives and abortion is the agenda of Planned Parenthood worldwide. They're not into lowering the occurrence of abortion. Then the same people will condemn tobacco companies for using the same exact tactics. Planned Parenthood of Oregon, in their yearly report, said success doesn't really rest on programs and services alone. It is the openness and the acceptance that young people will have intimate sexual relationships without being married, and that those relationships are natural and contribute to maturing into a sexually healthy adult. That's their agenda, to get young children active in sexual relationships as quickly as possible, and then convince them that that's what's going to make them healthy. I've been in ministry for a lot more years than I want to admit to. I've counseled with young men and young women both. I have never had any of them say in my office, "I'm glad that I got sexually active when I was young, because it made me a healthy adult." Never. Never once. Not once. A lot of young people think, well, it's just fun. When you get older, you recognize the consequences of the decisions that you make. But that is Planned Parenthood's agenda. They want to abort and they don't care. And the church is often sanctioning this, saying this is what's best. Well, who chooses what's best? From Celebrate Life magazine. If his mother had followed her doctor's advice when she was carrying him, he would be just another abortion statistic. Tim's parents, Bob and Pam, moved to the Philippines in 1985 to conduct a Christian missionary outreach. While pregnant with Tim, Pam contracted an amoebic dysentery through contaminated drinking water. She was advised to have an abortion due to the danger of the baby from the drugs needed to cure this disease. She refused, and Tim was born healthy and robust in 1987. See, let me stop there for a second. No more than pastors know everything, doctors don't know everything either. Today he stands 6'3", weighs 235 pounds, and has been described as an athletic and physical phenomenon. Tim was fortunate to be born into a family that had strong roots in their faith and a deep understanding of the precious gift that each life is, not only to them but also to the world. He is a Heisman Trophy winner in 2007-2008 season and national champion in 2008-2009 season. He quarterbacked in professional football the Denver Broncos and has led them to successful seasons in spite of all the criticizing of the media experts. His name is Tim Tebow. Tebow is a devout, born-again Christian with a strong Christian witness, and that's why the NFL doesn't want him playing for them. They'd rather have Colin Kaepernick bowing his knee and mocking the flag and the soldiers that died under that flag. They'd rather have Drew Brees that stands up and tells people what a great person he is and then sells out everything that he said. Tim Tebow doesn't play football because he's not talented. He doesn't play football because he's a Christian. Think about that for all of you that turn on the NFL every Sunday during the season and watch these jokes play what they call football. Yeah, go ahead and write into me again and let me know how bad I am. Why am I so passionate? A few years ago, a cattle farmer faced 5 years in prison because he was accused of not properly feeding 120 cows. I guess not feeding cows is more important than humans, because just a few months before that, the government disconnected Terri Schiavo and starved her to death. The Social Bleeding Heart stood outside of the prison protesting the execution of gang lord Tookie Williams because he had started writing children's books and should be allowed to live. Yeah, that's the type of person that you want your children reading from and learning from, isn't it? Of course, Teddy Kennedy, before his death, started writing children's books too. And this was a man that everybody knew was a murderer. And he got by with it. and served in the United States Senate for years after he murdered that innocent young girl. Some will say Terri Schiavo was brain dead, but just a few months after Terri Schiavo was starved to death, a little girl was to be let die as well because she was declared by the doctors brain dead. But suddenly the little girl started coming out of her condition, and she lived. So can you really make a difference? And I'm really trying to hustle here. I had not been preaching very long, and this one is definitely going longer. Please stay with me. Can you really make a difference? Can one person really matter in the battle? Ellen Malcolm founded Emily's List. Emily is an acronym, EMILY, standing for Early Money is Like Yeast. This means it helps the dough to rise. Malcolm in 1998 was named one of America's most influential women by Vanity Fair. In 1999, she was named one of the 100 most important women in America by Ladies' Home Journal. And in 1992, was among Glamour magazine's Women of the Year. Their contributor list is 97,000 strong. In 1985, she met in her basement with 25 of her pro-abortion chums to set up an agenda to elect pro-abortion women. Democratic Senator from Maryland, Barbara Mikulski, said Emily's List definitely helped her to win her Senate seat. A self-proclaimed Catholic, Nancy Pelosi, Democrat from California, says, I would not have been elevated to the Democratic whip of the House without the work that was done by Emily's List. And now she's Speaker of the House, 2 heartbeats away from the President of the United States. Malcolm was one lady meeting in the basement with just 25 other ladies, and they have impacted the entire American political scene. While much of the pro-life movement is now talking settlement or compromise, and the lesser of two evils, the pro-abortion movement has crushed us. So much of the Christians today are not committed to anything. They're not even committed to their own church, let alone any cause that requires any money or effort or time. I don't know. Many people tell me that I shouldn't be so passionate about things. I shouldn't push all these things. People get tired of hearing it. I know. They get tired of hearing it. We've got kids that are falling apart. I've gone to situations where a young girl was forced to go back into a home where her crack-using mother had been abusing her for years. And the deputy said to us, there is nothing we can do. A while back in Cincinnati, Ohio area, a 7-year-old was repeatedly beaten and finally found naked and dead. The head of the Union for Children's Services said, we are all pleased with the performance of our children's services workers. Yet the church sleeps. And truly, I'm just a little tired of trying to wake it up. Judy Brown, former director of American Life League, at least I believe she's former director, says the silence of the shepherds, which is the pastors, surrenders far too much to the father of lies. Amen, Judy. Is it important? No. Just stay in your easy chair and watch the ball game and let the children keep dying. I always like to quote this poem. It was written a number of years ago by a man called Jeff Ostrander, and I hope it'll challenge you as we close this message. This obscene silence by Jeff Ostrander. Eerie, isn't it? This sense of well-being, this sleepy, dreamy ocean of regularity that gently laps against our consciousness, cautioning against extremes, reciting the need for security, reminding of little jobs to be done around the house, all in a voice so smooth, so steady and faint that we hear no voice at all. This tender wooing towards self-absorption does not deny the reality of bigger principles, ideas that brave men might swallow death to defend. No, the quiet voice commends such ideas as marvelous, acknowledges their defenders to be saints and heroes. Amazing people, it croons, people of destiny, worthy of admiration, not the normal sort like us. So our hunger for justice is lost, not demolished, but disarmed, not attacked, but abstracted beyond use. Like a highly polished sword glimmering in the museum, while the unprotected city is slaughtered outside. Jesus loves the little children, of course, and here they are being dismembered all over town. Too bad, really. Someone should do something. Seems like the saints and the heroes would have shown up by now. It is quiet in the city, quiet in the churches. We have built a peace that dying children do not disturb. Funny, isn't it, how life goes on? How silent will you be? How silent will I be? Will we continue to pass resolutions as we watch our nation continue to slaughter baby after baby, and then stand out on the square and ask God to bless our land and heal our land, while we say nothing about the slaughter of the unborn children? Our swords are bright and shiny, but they're hanging in the museum while the city outside is slaughtered. I hope you are challenged. I hope I am challenged. May we see and understand the reality that this is not just parasites. This is real babies, 4,000 of them every day, slaughtered for no other reason than convenience. Oh God, please help us. Thank you for watching.